Coming out of the main lobby up there.
Everybody looking for their break eye session.
Yeah.
Is there somebody sitting here?
No.
Are you still working with distribution?
It's actually a good question.
It'll be interesting to listen to this now. Don't do that.
Well, good afternoon. I'm basically from MIT Enterprise Forum.
and also co-chair of today's event. Welcome to the workshop, the opportunity and growth challenge for the emerging sectors. Before we started, I know the program book arrives late. Anybody who don't have a program book? Everybody got one now? Okay, good. Thanks. Today's workshop is talking about the opportunity and growth challenge for emerging sectors. We heard everything about the green technology, the mobile, and the food safety. So we have a really diversified industry today. And we bring people who are been there, done that, and hopefully they can tell you what are the opportunities there, what to avoid, and some of the tips before you get into. We have the moderator today from Erica Sosenko. You have all the list of everybody, and then he will take over, and then Eric.
Okay. Thank you. Well, first of all, I wanted to welcome everybody. My name is Eric Sosenko. I'm an intellectual property attorney with Brinks, Hofer, Gilson, and Lione, located right here in Ann Arbor. It's my privilege to host this, have everybody here. I was a little bit concerned. We started off around 2:30. We were thinking, but we saw how good the weather was outside. We didn't know if everybody had lined up some 2:30 tea times or anything or not, but that was an option today. We're glad you're here nonetheless. So. One of the things with this panel was, like Grace said, we wanted to get together a divergent group of emergent technologies. And I think we really, if you look at the categories, you see how are you going to put these groups that we have together and come out with something that's cohesive and understandable to everybody. But I think once you hear where we're going with this is with the opportunities and challenges faced by these groups that you're going to find it enjoyable. We're going to have plenty of time for questions, so hopefully you'll have some questions. So we've got the things we're covering here today. The technologies that we've brought is we have mobile technologies, we have electric vehicles or green technologies, and we also have food safety. Now for me personally, food safety was not one I generally think of from a standpoint of emergent technology, so I'm really interested to hear what we got from that, quite honestly. It's not what I was thinking, to be honest. So again, our goal here is for you to have the opportunity to explore these sectors. And we hope that you hear about their challenges, hear about their opportunities. You'll be able to take that, allow you to relate it to your own sector and see if you can come up with some answers to your challenges that you have and your opportunities. And also maybe even hopefully allow you to identify new opportunities for you in each of these technology groups. So with that, I'd like to introduce our panelists that we have today. And I don't know if you looked on the website. Initially, we were going to have Julia Bradsher here from the Global Food Protection Institute, but she got called away. She had a slightly better offer, I guess we could say it. The World Bank asked her to speak before them at a conference in Turkey, so she opted to go to the World Bank. So we'll leave it at that. But in her place, we have Joan Bowman, and is no slight to Joan. She is the Vice President for External Affairs, correct? And you're going to give a background? I don't know on global food. I have a little bit. Hopefully, I won't walk on your toes a little bit.
No, yeah, I can give a background.
Okay, just a very brief background on Global Food Protection Institute. It was formed in 2009. It was originally funded by a grant from the Kellogg Foundation.
Correct.
So they are located out in Battle Creek. They have 3 core initiatives that they're focusing on. The first is building a training infrastructure for the integrated food safety system that we have here in the U.S. And probably worldwide, since it's not just the U.S. The second initiative that they have is facilitating the adoption of policies and practices that are going to lead to greater public health. And then the last one, which I think we're going to hear a little bit more on today, is advancing novel food protection technologies. That's something that I think that if you listen to the news and you hear about the different food scares that we have come down over the last year alone, let alone the last decade, that's interesting to see where that protection technologies might go. So with these initiatives, they're looking to improve public health, help reduce mortalities, morbidity, as well as the economic costs associated with food safety. So Joan joined GFPI, as you guys call it. And was it in 2009 you joined it, or
Yes.
was it more recently?
No,
2009?
2009, I was the first employee hired.
Oh, excellent, excellent. And so for them, she is responsible for marketing, communication, and governmental relations. Prior to that, she worked with the Governor Granholm's office, and she was the regional director for Western Michigan.
That's right.
Okay. So with that, I will turn it over to Jim.
Thank you, Eric. Good afternoon, everyone. Well, as Eric said, the Global Food Protection Institute is a fairly new organization. We were established in 2009 as an economic development strategy, actually, to revitalize downtown Battle Creek. And the W.K. Kellogg Foundation committed $35 million to invest in a plan to grow food science, food technology, and food education. And the idea was meant to kind of build on Battle Creek's and Michigan's history and background in food, the food industry. And when you think about it, food protection makes sense for Michigan. Michigan's agriculture is a $71.3 billion economy in Michigan and accounts for 1 in 4 jobs. And most people don't know this, but we're the second most agriculturally diverse state in the United States after California. So, what made sense, this made sense for Michigan, and also, as I said, for Battle Creek, because downtown we have the world headquarters of Kellogg's, and we also have Post in Ralston, and we're known as the Cereal City. So the Global Food Protection Institute is made up of 3 initiatives, all different, but all advancing food safety. The first one is called the International Food Protection Training Institute. As the FDA's lead training partner, we're helping them implement the legislation that was passed last January called the Food Safety Modernization Act. We not only deliver training for government inspectors and regulators, so the people that inspect grocery stores and restaurants and that kind of thing on the local, state, and federal level, but we also train food protection officials in industry. And in addition to the training, we're working on a national curriculum as well as acting as the administrative hub, for this entire integrated food safety system. The second initiative is called Imagine Food Futures Conferences and Symposia. And this series of conferences is convening the most forward-thinking and experienced people in food safety to try to tackle current and emerging issues in food protection. And our first conference is scheduled to be held in Battle Creek in May of this year. And then the third initiative, and the reason that I'm here today, is to introduce you to the Emerging Technology Accelerator. And with this program, we're providing entrepreneurial support to fast-track the development of emerging technology platforms that safeguard the food supply. And what we're looking at technologies that can rapidly identify pathogens and toxins in food, and ones that are easily transportable in the field and give a quick result. So specifically, we're looking at technologies that have advanced past the lab and university stage and that are ready for commercialization in approximately 24 to 36 months. Pathogens and toxins in our food can be a big problem, especially now when the food supply is so interconnected and imports come into this country from all over the world. Keeping the food safe gets difficult, it gets more and more difficult every day. And foodborne pathogens not only threaten our food supply, but also threaten our national security. Right now in the U.S., 48 million people get sick and 3,000 die from foodborne illness. And the economic cost is estimated at about $77 billion each year. There are outbreaks that are reported every single day. And while a lot of the outbreaks are relatively minor, there have been some very serious cases in this last year. The salmonella outbreak in ground turkey caused Cargill to recall and destroy over 18,000 pounds of product. And the listeria outbreak that you probably heard about in cantaloupes, that was the deadliest outbreak to date. It killed 31 people. Detection of molecular hazards is also a challenge. In 2010, melamine was used as an adulterant in baby formula, of all things, in China, and that caused 300,000 illnesses of infants and six deaths. And melamine was also found to have been added to pet food in the United States and was responsible for killing thousands of American pets. So the challenge that we have at the Global Food Protection Institute is to protect the food supply by identifying and supporting field-based technology that rapidly detects these pathogens from farm to fork. So, starting in the field when we're growing and harvesting, identifying them, in manufacturing and processing plants at the retail level, whether that's restaurants, grocery stores, or schools, and even in situations of biohazard investigation and cleanup, because like I said earlier, pathogens in food, whether they're there accidentally or intentionally, can be a national security threat, as well as a public safety threat. So we are focused on bringing these technologies to market through our seeding program, through our business plan competition, which we're co-sponsoring with GLEQ and will be announced later today. And then just by generally raising awareness with the investment community so that they understand the opportunities to invest in the food protection area. And then ultimately, we hope to become a full-blown or a full-service accelerator. So if you're interested in learning more about what we're doing, or if you have ideas or things to share, I'll be here all day. We have a table out in the exhibit hall. My colleague Jennifer Dama is here as well. You can read all about us on the website gfpi.org, and you can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter as well. So I look forward to talking with as many people today as I can and to learning a lot more about the community here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joan. Our second panelist is Larry Granger. Larry is the Chief Information Officer of PEP Stations. PEP Stations is a startup venture that provides charging stations for electric vehicles. These are commercial type establishments, not in-home systems. He's being involved in vehicles at this point in time. I don't think it's any surprise to learn that he has a 30-year plus year history in the automotive field. 30 years with Ford Motor Company, where he held various information technology executive positions. He also served as the CIO of Visteon, which was a parts supplier spinoff about 10 years ago from Ford. He was also employed by Tech Team Global, which is a provider of information technology management services. For them, he served in the capacities as VP of Professional Services, the Chief Information Officer, and the Chief Operating Officer. In addition to those, he's started and begun 2 companies of his own, and he has a background in science and management from Drexel University. So with that, I'll turn it over to Larry.
Good afternoon. PEP stands for Plug-in Electric Power. You might want to pass some of these along just so you kind of get an idea of what we're building here. It's actually, this station that you see in there is what I'll be talking about. So I thought I'd quickly relate to you the PEP story. It's kind of interesting for those with an entrepreneurial lean in their background or a desire. At Ford, I was always there for 30 plus years, but I always had that entrepreneurial desire to do something of my own. And I did that a couple times. But this particular product came to be starting in the summer of 2009, a couple of years ago now. So what happened was The founder of the company is actually an architect. He builds buildings in Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois, and operates some of those buildings. And one of his tenants happened to be building the onboard charger for the Chevy Volt. And so as part of that, this company was going to get a Volt to do some testing and so forth with, and wanted to know, came and asked him as the landlord, where am I going to plug in this vehicle? And by the way, they wanted to use what's called level 2, which is 220 volts. So you don't just run an extension cord out the window and put 220 volts out there. So the founder of the company started to look around the web. First thing he does, okay, goes to the web, what's available, and research to see what was in the market already. When he took a look at it, there wasn't a single station out there that he would put in front of one of his buildings. It's Class A office space, very particular about everything about his building. So he decided, okay, I'm an architect, I can figure this out. So he designed one. He had a mock-up of that made, and circulated that around amongst some business associates and the tenant, and everybody thought that was a pretty good idea. So he engaged a marketing firm to develop a little bit of collateral, then decided to build some prototypes, some to take to shows and a couple of working models. So he contacted a company, looked around for engineering support, found a company called Ricardo. They're a big global international engineering firm. They happen to have a campus down by the airport. So they constructed 5 prototypes. He took those prototypes to the Detroit Auto Show and the New York Auto Show. Received a lot of positive feedback again from the people at the show, including the OEMs. So we decided to go ahead and have the product engineered. So he got the product engineered and then started to try to figure out, okay, I've got a product, I've got to get it to market. How am I going to get it manufactured? How am I going to get service set up? And all the things that go around building a company. That's where I happened to come on the scene as a consultant, in effect, for a 30-day evaluation of, is this product manufacturable? What are all the elements required to take this to market? So myself and one of my associates, we came in, looked at this thing for 30 days. So this is a pretty good idea. The business plan was fairly robust. Said this is doable, and so we went about building a team to go ahead and identify a contract manufacturer. Funding is a huge issue. So this was seed capital that was basically supplied by our founder. But so we found a contract manufacturer. Happens to be down near Cedar Point, a great medium-sized company, not so big that they didn't want to talk to us as a startup, but big enough that they could scale. Because this is going to be a commodity product. There are going to be millions of these devices spread the U.S. and the world. It's happening as we sit here. And so we found a contract manufacturer. Then I started going around through my network, finding called a friend of mine, and he's the CTO of America, said, hey, who services your ATMs? Because the product was designed with a lot of characteristics of an ATM. It has a card reader, magnetic card reader, so we can take access cards or credit cards. It has a touch screen, so you can interact with the consumer or the driver of the vehicle. And so he said, well, Diebold Corporation provides our ATMs and services them. So I got through into Diebold, and we created a partnership for Diebold Corporation to install, service, and support. Then we started building up the sales and distribution, because we got the product, we could manufacture it, we could support it. We took over the software. It has a bunch of embedded software, and we took some of that stuff over it and started managing that directly. we had Logic Solutions enhance our website at this point. That's how I ended up here on this panel. But so we're building up a network, trying to figure out how do we get this product to market. It's a fairly long lead cycle. There's not you're at the early adopter stage. Vehicles are just starting to show up, and they're coming out very slowly. There's a lot of range anxiety that people have. I'm going to buy a vehicle, but where am I going to plug it in when I leave home? Especially when the vehicles only get 35 or 40 miles on a charge, maybe 100 miles. So we're building up a network of distributors, primarily electrical contractors, because we found out that the building owners and managers would go to their electrical contractor and say, I want a charging station. What do you recommend? So we thought that was a decent distribution channel. While we were doing that, I guess we happened to be at the right place at the right time, because a company called Hubble Corporation, which you see on their logo on that data sheet, they're a 100-year-old company out of Connecticut in the electrical business, make everything from wall receptacles to big power management systems, thousands of lighting, parking lot lighting, building lighting, all kinds of stuff. So they came to us and said, we'd like to be your distribution partner. That was like a bluebird flying in through the window. We were in the right place at the right time. So we signed an exclusive partnership with Diebold Corporation, which in effect puts their entire distribution network in marketing and selling our products. Plus the equivalent of about 25,000 salespeople in play spread across the U.S. doing this. So at this point, I thought just you should know kind of where I'm coming from, what we're doing. We've attracted a small team of engineers and IT people and some marketing and sales people to manage the company. We've got about 100 units now out in the field doing, basically the data testing in a way. But these are fully production modules. Have been UL certified, which that was a real treat. I had never taken a product to market before, and always been Ford had always been part of the support organization, not the one on the lead of taking a product. And just a little challenge along that was we were told that should take maybe 4 to 6 weeks. 22 weeks later, and many prototypes, we finally got certification. But that was just one of the challenges. So we expect this year that we will take 500 to 1,000 units to market. If the vehicles start coming out faster than they have been, it may increase. Could be a couple thousand units. It's it's been a real interesting ride for the last year and a half or so I've been involved. As far as opportunities and challenges as you go through this, and kind of the takeaways here, part of what as an entrepreneur, I think you need to look at what's happening around you. In this case, you were starting to hear, the drums beating on reducing the dependencies of foreign oil, reducing tailpipe emissions. President Obama said he wanted to have 1 million vehicles on the road by 2015. California said they wanted 1 million themselves by 2015. The Department of Energy came up and put a few $100 million into a couple of companies to seed the market with 15,000, almost 20,000 free charging stations. A couple of companies started up as a result of that. Tax incentives are happening for people that are purchasing vehicles, for buildings or facilities to put in charging stations. There's over 60 new electric vehicle models coming to market over the next 2 or 3 years. Every manufacturer that you know of today has one or more, and there are new manufacturers you haven't heard of, unless you've been to the auto show recently with electric vehicles. And so the infrastructure, this is kind of a chicken and egg situation. People will buy vehicles when they're comfortable that there's a place for them to plug in vehicles when they leave home. And if there's more places to plug in, then they'll be more comfortable building vehicles or buying vehicles. So If you think about the market potential, which is another opportunity, this is every place you go when you leave home where you stop for 30 minutes or more. It's virtually an unlimited, untapped market at this point. So it's a huge, huge market potential. Challenges, financial management is a enormous challenge. The biggest challenge of all. This is my third startup I've been involved with. You never have enough money at the right time, and it's very hard to get it. It seems like, especially in the state of Michigan, it is a bear to get money, whether it's a loan from a bank or from angels or from VCs or anybody. It is very difficult to raise capital. The product and service definition in development is it has to be very good. That product has to look good, and it has to operate flawlessly. And if there is a problem, you have to be able to support that immediately. So all of those details have to be worked out. Intellectual property, my friend over here, the chair of the panel here, intellectual property is something to be dealt with early on. That design, it seems like a trivial thing, but one of the items in there is the pedestal that sits on. That pedestal is a 12 by 12 reinforced concrete pedestal, sits 60 inches in the ground. It's a certain height for American Disabilities Act. There are no bollards or protective elements around that. The coiled cord system is a coiled management. You see lots of our competitors, they'll have, it looks like an air hose. It's a long black cord laying around, nobody puts it back. It's something that gets tangled up with wheelchairs, people drive on it, and all kinds of stuff. So thinking about your intellectual property up front early on is important, that you identify what that is and you get it protected. In our case, finding manufacturing, you find somebody who is a good, solid contract manufacturer, and then the service support and all that kind of stuff. So kind of in summary, I'd say if you have an interest, look around at what's emerging. In the food sector, there are some things that are out there that are happening that can be commercialized. This happened to be an opportunity. I'm sure there are many other things around the electric vehicle industry that you could look at. I didn't know anything about electric vehicles or electric infrastructure, but I set Google alerts and I was amazed. Within hours and minutes, I'm just hammered with all the things that are happening. You start to get an idea how big this thing is. So pick out something where you can participate in directly or indirectly. Develop your product and service concept. Get your business case squared away. Unless you're just, you've got all the funding and everything you need, you better have a decent business case. Develop your prototypes, test the market, refine your products and services. You've got to build a team, a lean team that can be doers. You don't need 20 execs. You need people, you might need one or two, but you need some people who can get stuff done. And then go out there and get your product to market. So that's the PEP story. PEP stands for Plug-in Electric Power. And I can't wait to get my Focus Electric.
Thanks, Larry. Our third panelist is Jimmy Xiao. Jimmy's the founder of Logic Solutions. He founded this company in 1995, so it has been around a little while and stood the test of time. They started out, I believe, if I have it correctly, with web applications and websites, and have developed their websites into very comprehensive business models for websites, as opposed to what we originally saw on websites, more of a catalog situation. I think everybody can appreciate how websites have developed over the last few years and everything. And now they're focusing, it seems that my understanding, on mobile strategy and application development in that regard. He has grown Logic from a one-man shop of himself here in Ann Arbor to having employees in 5 locations, 2 locations in the United States and 3 locations in China. They have an impressive portfolio of sophisticated business-to-business solutions and applications, a diverse range of industries that they're involved in. Recently launched a new product in 2011 called Showcase, which is focusing on sales process flow and developing that. I'll let him talk more about that. He has 2 degrees, both from the University of Michigan. He has a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering and a master's degree in computer engineering. One interesting fact I saw in his bio was while he was at the University of Michigan, he did have the opportunity to develop software that helped for different applications on the Cray supercomputer. So with that, Jimmy.
Well, I started my company, Logic Solutions, in 1995. I think a few months after Netscape went public, I thought it was an opportunity, and that was a game changer. It's the web coming to New York. And many years later, about 3 years ago, I think I saw the same thing about the mobile. And I think mobile is going through what web went through in the late 90s. There was, originally web started as a way to say informations, to present informations, but later on, as we know the web today, it's used for many different purposes. Whether it's on the consumer level, B2B, enterprise level, it's everywhere. And I think when iPhone came out a couple of years ago, I thought that was another game changer, and I want to be in that. So I formed a division within Logic Solutions to focus on that, which in the past 3 years we have developed many mobile applications, and we actually have a table here, so you're welcome to see some of the apps that we have developed. So I thought to talk about the market opportunities for mobile, I'll throw a few numbers here, some statistics that's available. First of all, mobile, in my mind, it's not just your smartphone, but even the traditional mobile phone, even doing texting, it was the very early applications. And in China, there are 500 million people who own cell phones, and they use texting, many years ago, and that continued to be a very popular applications. And today, from simple mobile phones to, a lot of people have migrated to smartphones. Smartphones represents about 47% of the total mobile phones, which is a huge number when you think about it. Over Christmas Day, 6.8 million Android and iPhone devices were activated. And that's an amazing number, just in one day. Actually, a couple weeks ago, I was in China. When iPhone 4S went on sale in Shanghai, it was not very far from our office there. There were like 3,000 people waiting outside the Apple store trying to get their hand on the iPhone 4S. And actually, I took 2 iPhone 4S to China myself. This trip to us a lottery draw for our New Year party there, and that was a very popular prize. But what also amazes me is that not only there were people waiting outside Apple store trying to get the latest iPhone 4S, but when I look around in China, we consider GDP in China is so much less than here. But all around me, I can see iPhones everywhere. And I even asked my secretary there, who just spent her whole month's salary to buy an iPhone 4, and that is amazing. And that's so I think all those numbers. Will just validate this is not just an emerging market. This is a market that's already emerged. And besides smartphones, there is also tablets. The most popular tablet, is iPad. And Apple sold about 15 million iPads during the most recent quarter, and that's also an amazing number. And Android markets in the iPad and the tablet is also coming up very quickly. And there are many people who owns various kinds of tablets from Android, but one of them, you probably know, but it's based on Android's operating system is Kindle. Kindle Fire just sold about 6 million or so of them in the last quarter, and that's also an amazing number. So when you think about all this, mobile phones, smartphones, tablets, there are a lot of people who are using it. So on the Christmas day alone, there were 242 million apps that were downloaded on that one single day. Think about that. That's a huge number. And there was more than 1 billion apps that were downloaded during the Christmas week. So that's more than any other market sectors you can ever imagine that happening. So we are a software development shop. So we develop a lot of different software for mobile. And when people think of mobile early on, it's, especially with Apple's iPhone, are the mobile apps that you download from Apple's app stores. And whether it's the level to see tools, or whether it's iBooks that you read on the tablets, those are standalone apps that you download for $1.99 or $5 or whatever. But I think that's going to represent a small sector of the whole mobile app market, because there is also a whole enterprise market, just like the web. Web evolved from consumer markets or e-commerce to now most of the software have a web portion. I think in the near future, most of software will also have a mobile portion. So we are developing a lot of software for a lot of enterprise clients, whether it's on the educational side or CRM. And then there is also this social network. When we think about social network, we think of Facebook and LinkedIn and so on and so forth. But there is also a mobile-to-mobile type of social network, because mobile device is mobile. so you can, and he also has a GPS capability, so where the other person could be. So when you interact with the other person, it could be very close to you, maybe very far away, but your mobile device can tell you. So there is a new trend of this kind of mobile-to-mobile type of applications that leverage the GPS part of the mobile device. So mobile is definitely different from the web in such a way that web is definitely ubiquitous in some ways, but being mobile, that means that the user can read everywhere he goes. So that presents a lot of interesting ideas for applications. So GPS, definitely integrating GPS with your mobile device. Early on, we told you that we are launching an application, a software application called Showcase. And so we have integrated GPS functionality into Showcase, so the salespeople in the field, wherever he travels, he knows proximity of the clients, and then he can bring up GPS functionality that's integrated into the sales automation tools. And for field engineers or service people, the GPS is also very useful. We are developing an application for the Chinese factory inspection companies that goes to different factories. So when they travel to the factory, the phone knows where he is, So you will actually send the appropriate inspection information to that auditor, along with all the checklists that we have to go through for that specific location. So, and then, there is camera, there is, we have a client that uses iPhone, an Android phone as a controller to control the porting of the cars, to read the retail information. And then there is, and then you can attach a lot of different stuff to your phone. There is barcode readers, there is credit card readers that you can attach to it. And then I think the most interesting, most intriguing part about mobile is a lot of people are talking about cloud computing today. And when we think about cloud computing, we think of the web. But when you really think about cloud computing, I think cloud computing has come a long way in the mobile sector. Because, even the telephone itself has always been living on the cloud. When you make the phone call, you don't really think about how this phone system really works. Like it magically connect you from one place to another. So through PBX and so on and so forth. But that's a bonus, right? But when you think about data, your phone going to the cloud and then going through some kind of server, some kind of processing, can connect you and make very interesting applications. So that's what I'm excited about. I think mobile, adding the cloud, that's really what's going to make this mobile market very interesting and very, very powerful. And yet there are challenges. We are trying to sell our services in the past 3 years. There are a lot of challenges. First of all, mobile has a lot of players. So because there are a lot of players and there's no one dominant player, I would say. Although Apple seems to be up there. There is also Android. So and then before iPhone and Android phones, there was BlackBerry, which was dominant in the U.S. enterprise market. And then there's Microsoft. So it's always a challenging thing for us to consult for our customers about which platform do we want to develop first and how to develop. And then once you develop one, how can that be carried throughout all the ones? So that's one problem that we see. The other one is, from the hardware perspective, the mobile, and especially smartphone market changes extremely fast. So you see the paradigm changes from mainframe to mini computer to desktop computer maybe every decade or so. If you look at smartphone, in the past 5 years, the original smartphone of Pocket PC and Palm computers, Palm Trio, very quickly those were out, BlackBerry was in, and very quickly BlackBerry is out, iPhone is in, and iPhone is now fighting its marketplace with Android. So this kind of changing landscape poses a big challenge for developers like ourselves, and for the users too, and for the companies to decide which is the right platform to use. And then, and from the consumer's perspective, if you look at different kind of hardware device, it's very interesting that people probably hold on to their TV, 7 to 10 years before they change the TV. And then laptop, probably 3 years. The mobile, especially smartphone, is about 12 months. People after 12 months, they're bored with it. Say, hey, can I get an iPhone for this? So that's another platform that's constantly changing. And then because of all this different hardware and software, it's very difficult for a company like us to find talents that's available to develop the right kind of applications. So the university doesn't train mobile-specific talents. Even if they do, by the time those people graduate, the landscape has changed. So we are constantly, in the market looking for people that can pick up the technology very fast. And as a consulting company, we try to manage expectations from our customers, as part of, especially when it comes to mobile applications. I think it's small, so it should be easy to program. So it should be cheap to be done. But the fact is, like I said, although it's small, it can be very sophisticated. You can have all the back-end integrations that you can think of. So a lot of customer or client educations that we have to do before we can sell our services. And that is continuing going to be that's going to be a continuous battle, because while we are educating our customers, we are getting educated by the marketplace. So technology changes very fast. So we are challenging our technical people how to pick up the technology very fast. And finally, as far as applications goes, because the number that I mentioned to you earlier, 1 billion applications have been downloaded over Christmas week. That means there are a lot of apps available for people to use, to download, to see. So even for entrepreneurs, we have a lot of customers who are entrepreneurs that are trying to get their apps in the marketplace. It's a very big market, but to get the attention for your product, it's not going to be very easy. So anyway, that's the. I thought those are the big challenges that we have today for mobile. And we have a table out here, so and my marketing director Angela is back there, and she if you like to know more about the applications we develop, she's here to show to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jimmy. Our last panelist is Tim Slusser. Tim is with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, MEDC. Beginning in November of 2011, he had a new title over there. He was the Technology Development Manager for Cluster Development at the MEDC. Prior to that, he spent 3.5 years as the Technology Development Manager for Advanced Energy Systems. As everybody here is probably aware, Michigan has become a leader in advanced energy storage, batteries for the green cars that we're seeing out on the roads now. Tim was involved in developing that industry here. An interesting note there is that during his time there was $5.7 billion invested in energy storage and electric vehicles. 1.35 billion in federal funds went to energy storage industry here in Michigan. That number right there represents more than all 49 other states combined. So I think it'd be really good to hear from Tim on where he's going now with the new industries that he's looking at. So,
thank you, Eric. So real quickly, the MEDC, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, is the state's lead economic development agency. We work with a lot of, if not all of the local partners, such as Ann Arbor Spark, the city of Southfield, Oakland County, for example. And we really try and put together a statewide strategy looking and partnering with all those organizations. As Eric mentioned, prior to my new role as Cluster Development Manager, or Technology Development Manager of the Cluster Group, I was responsible for developing the strategy around attracting and building the electric vehicle and advanced energy storage industry in Michigan. That was something that, right when I came in to MEDC, there was a huge push from that administration to try and grow that. That was a huge attraction effort in which the state put just over $1 billion of incentives on the table to try and create that. Programs like that do not exist anymore, and they never will exist again. So that was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We feel that we have created quite a bit of success from that. PEP stations being one example. That probably would have never happened had it not been for that industry deciding to locate in Michigan. And so what we did there and what we do in my new group is essentially we apply entrepreneurial tools to identify opportunities that are out in the marketplace. So the new governor has really taken us from a focus of attraction to a focus that is heavily dependent on what he's referring to as economic gardening. So this is really looking at what strengths and what companies and what is in Michigan that we can help foster and grow here, rather than try and bring a company from outside of the state, outside the country, and create jobs. What can we do to help these companies in Michigan grow? And so essentially what that's taken us is, again, we've taken those tools and we've applied them in a new way. So in the cluster development team, what we do is we look at different areas in the state, different technologies, different industries. One example is solid state lighting. It wasn't apparent to me until just recently that Michigan is actually a leader in solid state lighting, which includes things like LED lighting, high efficiency lighting systems. And Michigan actually has, I believe, it is the Michigan Solid State Lighting Association, which is one-of-a-kind association that is dedicated to trying to advance in that industry. And it's happening right here in Michigan. So what the cluster development team does is looks at industries like that, looks at Michigan's assets, looks at where the industry is going, again, from a very entrepreneurial frame of mind, to try and identify opportunities, try and identify ways that the state, thinking like an entrepreneur, can help invest in those industries, partner with those players, and really try and create, again, economic gardening opportunities in the state of Michigan. So it's, again, a lot of those same tools. And we're really, this is something new for economic development in the state of Michigan. I don't believe that it's happening anywhere else in the country to quite the way that it's happening here in Michigan. And we're quite proud of that. I do know that we maybe want to get a couple questions at least from the audience if we have time. So I know that we're running short, so I'll kind of leave it there. And if there's something more you'd like to know about that, I encourage you to ask a question about it.
Yeah, as Tim said, this session was supposed to run till 3:30. There is about a half-hour window between this session and the next session, so we do have some time for questions. That being said, I know everybody likes the networking opportunities here, so I'm just going to open it up for questions from the audience, let you ask them. I did want to say we did not know that economic gardening term was going to be used with food safety, so we'll start over here.
I have a question for Jimmy. I run a mobile marketing service, and we've developed all of our strategies around SMS text messages based on the fact of what you said, things rapidly change in the market. At one point, we were considering building 3 different platforms of an app, but then BlackBerry, of course, they're falling off the end, and they don't sell the amount of devices that are going to give us the attraction to the customers. And in your experience, what kind of investment is necessary to take something from a successful SMS platform and then take it to, let's say, an Android or an iPhone platform?
First of all, I don't think the short message is going away. I think it will continue to be there for quite some time because it's still a very important, very useful way to communicate. So I think it will continue. But to develop a very simple iPhone apps, we develop iPhone apps anything from, I would say, $20,000 to $100,000, depending on the sophistications. But iPhone app is just one. Then you have to kind of start looking at about the same market size. And I believe, this Nokia's endorsement of Windows now, it's going to go away. And BlackBerry, I think it will be there, but I maybe we'll have a smaller parking space. So we always, advise our client if they have a limited amount of budget. We like to tell them to do iOS first, because it's a single platform that's dictated by Apple. And so the hardware, you don't have many flavors of hardware. Then you look for the next investment. That's maybe Android, and Android again, because there are a lot of players in Android. So say look for an 80-20 rule. 80% market in Android is probably about Samsung, HTC, and maybe.
And another question up front here?
As I was listening to Larry and Jimmy talk, it occurred to me that these two gentlemen share some similar opportunities. The first one is batteries. We both have to figure out how to keep batteries charged up, because the more things we do with mobile phones, the faster they eat the batteries up, and then you're dragging around the cord trying to stay charged up somewhere. So that's one. And the second is there needs to be, in your case, a mechanical device, in your case, some software that could let any unit talk to any other unit. So if you could come up with a device that would work for the various kind of charging applications that different electrical vehicles have, that would be really helpful. Right now in the city of Saline, we picked one, we've got one in, but it only charges some things. And the same thing with the mobile applications. If there was some master software program that could translate everybody's way to talk to each other, it seems to me that would be a goal. Instead of you got an Apple, you got to get another Apple to talk to that. Some similarities there.
There's a question in the back there?
I have a question for Tim. What are two of the next emergent sectors that people are talking about next that we should be aware of?
Just two. So, actually, food and ag is absolutely one that has come up on our radar. And that is because Michigan, if you look at the statistics, is a national leader in a vast variety of different, whether it's produce or actually flowers. Michigan is a national leader in that, and several other categories. So food and agriculture is one that we're currently investigating. Actually, it's one that I'm going to be responsible for very soon. As I mentioned, solid state lighting is one that we're starting to see some traction in. I should note that our team has literally just recently come to exist. So we've only been around for about 2-3 months. And so we've got a lot of different opportunities that are on our plate that we're looking at, but we haven't actually taken it as far as what we did with battery yet to identify what the opportunities are. So, our goal, our internal goal, is to essentially create that information and make that information available on some level. There's certain things that we're not going to be able to share because of confidentiality with companies we're talking with to gather some of that information, but we really want to take an effort to really position Michigan more. So as we come up and identify something like solid state lighting and say, the very next thing is actually the UL certification of solid state lighting in the state of Michigan. We really kind of push that as something that Michigan is positioning itself for. But I'd say that those are two that are at the top of our radar. Another one is actually lightweight materials. You take something like lightweight materials, which includes things like carbon fiber. That plays applicability into automobiles from a weight-saving standpoint. It has applicability into energy storage as a materials standpoint for batteries and other devices. So really what we're looking for is the types of industries that have broad applicability across many different sectors. It's actually one of the reasons why we targeted advanced energy storage to begin with, because we had a solid automotive foundation, but we already had certain efforts that were already going and gaining some traction in things like wind and solar, so renewable energy storage as a device to try and help increase the penetration of those areas. military. They use batteries on the soldier and in their vehicles as well. So those are the types of things that are kind of catching our eye at first. And quite frankly, we're open to suggestions. We get a lot of suggestions from our local partners as to what types of things to look at. And that's actually where solid state lighting came from. And in Ann Arbor specifically, there's a huge photonics initiative. It took me a while to learn what photonics actually was. And that's actually digital processing and lasers and light optics. So that's kind of a broad sector in and of itself. So, but I hope that kind of gave you a broad spectrum of an answer.
I'm going to call my stock advisor
I do not assume responsibility for anything of that nature.
Were there other questions from the audience? Yes.
I had a question for Larry. You're developing a new technology, and you mentioned that you had to go through certifications. How do you find out what certifications you need for technology that hasn't quite been developed or put out there yet?
Well, you start looking around at who the governing bodies are for certain things, and Society of Automotive Engineers in our case for the standard connector. That's a technology you have to evaluate. If you're going to provide an electrical device, you start looking at electrical standards, building codes. You have to research what surrounds and controls your product. But I will tell you, it is a significant effort to get a product through something like UL, Underwriter Liability Approval. But you have to know what's happening in that field, that engineering discipline, in case of electricity, right?
We ran out of tape. Yeah. Just broadcast that. Do you have any interruptions?
Another question here?
Should we go?
Joe, will your group be doing actual inspections and audits, or is that something that you're going to be just training people to do? How, as you move forward in the broad concept that you talked to us about, how will you go about policing those things that you see as necessities to protect the food supply and the chain of custody, more or less, for our foods?
Well, our role at the International Food Protection Training Institute is to train the inspectors and regulators to do their jobs in a uniform manner, in a consistent manner. And, in fact, when the foundation first did this feasibility study to see if the Global Food Protection Institute was even feasible, some surprising facts were brought to light about the training that these people get out in the field. It's not uniform, it's not consistent, and of course budgets are so tight that even when states and locals want to train their people, they can. So what we're trying to do is to put together a national curriculum so the people that are trained, let's say an inspection in Michigan is the same as one that's done in Georgia, and the people are, so we all can expect that an inspection, is valid, but we are not policing anything. I mean, it's not up to us or anybody else who does training. That is up to, a lot of people. I mean, whether you call it protecting your brand if you're in an industry, or whether you call it protecting the public if you're a government official, I mean, you still expect that organizations are going to follow the laws and the regulations that the FDA sets out. So we're not really policing, we're just trying to train people to a standard. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And with that, I think we have to wrap it up from the standpoint of the video portion. I believe the panel will remain around. If you have some individual questions, please feel free to come on up and ask any of the panel or myself. Thank you. Is that what you guys needed to wrap for that?
Yeah, because I gotta change tapes and we gotta change the slides and everything, so, and everything takes a few minutes to do. There's a couple of tables out there. Geez, I haven't seen the current one. That was a cycle year.